Yeah, what's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Prison Break Raw. I'm your host, the one and only Big JD. Go ahead, get this channel, subscribe, share, leave some messages or comments, hit the thumbs up for the like, hit that notification bell to be informed on all episodes when they drop. And if you appreciate this content, please feel free to share. Sharing is caring. Share it to your family, your friends, your coworkers, anywhere and everywhere in your social media platforms. Let's get this raw and uncut material out there to the millions that don't know we're here. California convict mindset and evolving science is exactly what it is, especially in this day and age where most of us, unless you're living off the grid and you're a doomsday prepper, communicates via the internet, social media, and all these other things, text message, whatnot, this, that, and the third. This is where we are at today. And a lot of people would ask, well, the old school code of silence and communicating through small little kites and this and that and whispering in the ear to where he whispers in the ear. It's a constant game of criminal telephone all the way to the last man and hears about what's going on. You got to ask yourself, is this still the common practice, or have those days gone away? Because it is much easier to communicate on social media, because what a lot of people have learned and have come to terms with, that it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter how far you go, law enforcement is always going to find out what's going on anyways. They've been finding out what's going on since the beginning. There's nothing that doesn't get past them. They're Big Brother. They see everything, they know everything, they're everywhere and anywhere and everywhere that you can imagine. The old days of La Costa Nostra, Code of Silence and all that stuff like that. The lid was busted right off of that with Valachi. And then Jimmy the Weasel. And then Henry Hill, and then all the rest of them that told on the mob. Then Sammy the Bull, and on and on and on and on and on. Now, you have the day and age of Tekashi 6ix9ine. And Tekashi 6ix9ine is basically, in my mind, the SNY Godfather. Because the way that he moves and thinks is the way a lot of people like that move and think. In that whole PC snitch culture that we live in today, where there basically is, tell somebody something at your own risk, because it's probably going to get back to somebody else's ears in one way, shape, or form. There was once a time in the California prison system and every other prison system, any prison gang, street gang, criminal organization, even terrorist organizations, political organizations, whatever it is, that there was this code of silence and there was this way of moving and maneuvering and communicating and all these things, that it was death to anybody that opened their mouth, death to anybody that said something they weren't supposed to say, or even admitted to something they weren't supposed to admit to. Case in point, in the 1960s and stuff, to be a member of La M, you couldn't even say that you were a member. If you did, you were killed. That's how much of a code of silence it was. Next thing you know, somebody came out and said they were a member, and they changed the rule. That was the same for every other organization. Same thing with the mafia. Italian mafia. You couldn't say you were a member. Then next thing you know, here comes John Gotti with his verbosity and his grandiosity and strutting around talking about, yeah, I'm the boss, I'm the boss. That's when really shit started to change. If anybody's responsible for putting John Gotti in prison, it was John Gotti. He used to talk on the phones, all kinds of shit. That was another one that was very uncommon. It was a taboo, and it was a definite no-no for Italian mobsters, was to talk on the phones If you saw Goodfellas, you knew that. Paulie didn't talk on no phones. Paulie didn't talk to anybody. Paulie got all his information by the whisper of the ear. But all that changed, obviously, with John Gotti, right? The California prison system, these main prison gangs, as you can call them, communicated through kites, communicated through basically like coded communication via the phones. All these things like that. A whole ancient native language of Natwa and all that stuff was the communicating mode of relaying a message. This was before cell phones. This was before the internet. A lot of these dudes that are considered to be like big homies and stuff like that probably ain't never even seen a computer. Probably never seen Facebook, don't even know what Facebook is. Probably now, if they've got a cell phone in their cell. But before, back in them days, no idea. It was easier to move around and communicate that way because everything was not as connected as it is today. So people ask, is the mode of communication, has it changed? And I'd be willing to go out on a limb and say in a lot of ways, yes, I'm sure it has. Are there people communicating through social media in certain ways? Quite possibly. I'm not personally aware of it myself. And with that right there, we're referring to the whole thing that kicked off that whole mandatory peace treaty thing that was brought to light. I spoke on it. Whether you heard some other takes on it. Did this guy have permission to get on there and speak about that? Me personally, I don't know because I don't know the guy. Somebody shot me that video via Spliff TV. I had thought it was Spliff TV. I didn't even know I knew what he was and all that stuff like that, but I didn't know like what until I seen that he basically reposted that himself. Did the guy have permission to do that? Who knows? Was he speaking some truth? Yes, he was. Because I heard it through other sources that was a thing, this mandatory peace treaty that's coming down the line. And it's nothing new. And if you think it is, you're wrong. And a lot of these people talking about, yeah, my boy just got his house shot up, and these dudes just did this, and these just did that. I just got this, that, this, that. Well, you know what? Back in the early 1990s, when they had the football game and they had all the juntas and all the peace treaties for drive-by shootings, you think that stopped drive-by shootings? If it did, then there would be no green-lighted neighborhoods. But there was. The one thing about that as well is a good point for me to make here. The peace treaty in the early 1990s with the park, the football game, and all the neighborhoods coming together. Happened in Orange County, happened in L.A. Do you honestly believe that law enforcement was not put in the loop on that one before it even happened? You are dead wrong, because they were. They were filled in on all the details long before those homies that were standing in the park knew what was going on. It's always been that way. People communicate with law enforcement all the time in all these different organizations. In many different ways. It's been like that. You think it's not. You're crazy and you are basically naive. So, in this day and age now, at one point in time, it was a big secret and people moved in silence and secrecy and all that stuff like that. But the secret is out. Everybody knows what La M is. I mean, shit, there was several movies about it. Everybody knows what the Aryan Brotherhood is, the Black Guerrilla Family, Nuestra Familia. Everybody knows what these things are now. It ain't no secret anymore. Everybody knows who's involved. Everybody knows who's in there. Everybody knows who's a member and all this and this and that, for the most part. They may not know all the inner workings and the inner fine details and everything like that, but goddamn, even the Constitution that they have is out there on the internet. You could Google it and see it for yourself. You can go communicate with any member there and tell them, I know the whole Constitution. You can recite it to them word for word because it's on the internet. When somebody gets out there and they say that nobody would ever in a million years let somebody come on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook and speak on anything, well, that person obviously don't know much about the criminal mindset and how it operates. Or the gangster mindset. Because you could be a street thug all day long, but to be a gangster is a whole nother thing. I mean, shit, man. The most feared, organized, disciplined, and in control of things criminal organization in this country, the Italian mob, they're all over the place now. Look at Mob Wives, for Christ's sake, that show. With Gotti's wife and all his kids acting like straight ass clowns. John Gotti Jr., for example, running around talking about how he's a mobster and all, you know what I mean? Mob Wives, good example, right there. Another fine example of how things have changed is look at how terrorists are even communicating. Al-Qaeda, ISIS, they got websites. They got chat rooms, for Christ's sake. You don't think they didn't have a code of silence? Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hezbollah, Islamic Brotherhood, all of them. You don't think they don't have a code of silence? You think you got dudes running around up there in the bars and stuff like that talking about, yeah, I'm ISIS, motherfucker, I'm ISIS and all that? Probably get killed, man. You don't know who they are. They cover their faces. But they're up on there, man, speaking, recruiting, communicating. Whether this dude was able to get a pass to go on and speak or not, who knows? Only he knows, and whoever he communicated with knows. The rest of us would only be speculating and saying that he didn't. And when somebody gets on and says it's all a bunch of crap or something like that, well, they don't know shit either. Because I listen to what a lot of people have to say about a lot of these different things. And I take a lot of it with a grain of salt, and a lot of things that I go off of what I know firsthand because I talk to certain people. It's no secret that there's a norteño, sureño truce or ceasefire in the California prison system. And you see all the chatter, you see everything and all the stuff that people talk about. How they're all walking the yard together, eating together, playing handball together, doing all these things together. And all the whites and the blacks are mad because they lost their allies. And oh my God, man, it's going to be brown on white and then this and that. Don't have a clue as to what the fuck they're talking about. Because if they really knew what was going on, you would know that the person that started that whole thing, this whole thing of ceasefires, peace treaties, basically like laxing their stance on these 50-50 yards and these S&Ys and all the rest of them, it all came from a white dude in the shoe. Person who was basically regarded as the Pelican Bay core group leader, mastermind, Todd Ashker. They say that he has ties to, you know what, fill in the blanks. He wrote out everything. He did everything. He put all the legal work together. He has his own toddashker.org website. He's been on video speaking about these things. So for all of you out there say, oh yeah, they don't communicate, go look at the video. He's at the top of the food chain in that world. And he was on camera talking about the shit. Motherfucker locked down in the belly of the beast of Pelican Bay for over 2 decades. Orchestrating peace and trying to bring a level of calm and collectiveness to all the madness that's going on. He was actually instrumental in orchestrating a white and black peace, something that nobody would ever thought that would ever happen. With the example and everything that he was setting, with the things that he was doing, it inspired those other 2 organizations to orchestrate a peace treaty themselves. But if you think that it's going to be an uprising and now everybody's going to turn it on and start killing all the woods, well, you're misinformed and you're completely ignorant and stupid. Those organizations have a lot of history together. It's a lot of people that have shed a lot of blood together in a lot of different ways. And for the most part, it's never going to go that direction with a complete revolutionary march towards freedom that people like to put it out there like it is. It has nothing to do with anything like that. People got tired of rotting away in the shoe, the inhumane conditions, the piss poor medical and all these things like that, the staged fights and everything that was going on. So this dude, Todd Ashker, stood up and started filing legal work and he was the one that masterminded the whole food, the basic hunger strike. Him, a white dude. Paradigm shift, isn't it? When people think they know what's going on and you get these clowns that come on these channels and they talk about this shit like they think they know what they're talking about and they have you believe in it, you have to go ahead and consider the source in some of these actors, these characters. Look at them. Where did they end up and stuff like that? As far as a peace treaty on the streets in Southern California, guess what? That same thing has been going on in Northern California with Norteños for years. It was already done. What makes you think it can't be done again? And as far as communicating on social media and all this, people are saying, oh, you can't talk on cameras and oh, you can't do all that. Well, when somebody's saying, oh, you can't talk on cameras, you can't do all this and this and this and that, but these organizations that are supposedly built on secrecy, core values, and a foundation say that it's okay for some dude to be on the S&Y yard and to buy his way back to the GP yard. Come on now. If that's true, then I'm willing to believe that people have changed their communication tactics. You could get on here and talk about anything as long as you ain't exposing no names or no details. Now, if I get on my channel and I say, hey, just want to let everybody know that fucking the homie Chewy and the homie Benny, they're going to be robbing the bank over there on Western at around 7 o'clock this afternoon. That's different if you're going to be doing some shit like that. If you're on there breaking down like, okay, well, this guy just got made and this guy just got this and this fool just got the keys over here and this just happened. I understand that. That is exposing way too much game. But at the same time, what's funny and the irony of it all is the people that talk about this stuff, about how nobody communicates, nobody active or GP and all that communicates on social media, are the same people that are fucking breaking the whole process of getting phones in and how they smuggle in knives and how they do this and how they recruit staff and all these things. They're busting all that, exposing all that game. But they want to get on there and knock some dude talking about a peace treaty, a community activist at that. That man Lucky, a community activist. Brown Beret activist in the community, peace organizer, all that stuff like that. Whether he got the okay or not, who gives a shit? Why turn that into a spectacle? Why turn it into a spectacle? And make a mockery of the dude and call him a clown and call him full of shit and all that stuff. All I'm saying is this. One thing that I do know is you have a criminal organization that has been on top of the food chain for many decades. And in a lot of ways has closed the books. What's to say that a lot of these people may not just have woken up one day like Mundo did and say that, all the madness and everything that they created, let's try to right the wrongs and do something positive. Let's see if we can bring some kind of peace to all these barrios that are down there in Southern California. What's to say that that didn't happen? What's to say that they didn't choose a peace activist in order to put it out there? Maybe it is some kind of big ruse or subterfuge in order to distract what's really going on. But in no way, shape, or form is it informing the cops of anything that the cops don't already know. Because like I told you about the peace treaty that happened in the 90s, the cops were there before any of the homies were there. You think that they honestly believed that it was a football game? Communication is evolving. The mindset is changing. A lot of these cats that are in the back are becoming more hip to social media and becoming more exposed to it and are starting to see that this is how you communicate these days. It's just what it is, man. Me personally, I will never go out and expose game. Because it's just I just don't do it. That's just me. That's my personal choice. I don't need to tell you a whole bunch of secrets in order to get subscribers up and be popping. Like I said, man, you either subscribe or you don't subscribe. I like to keep this on a level of education at the same time growth. With this right here, I hope it opens up your eyes to actually what's really going on in a lot of these things. The mindset is evolving and changing. The actors that were actually involved in orchestrating peace treaties and all these things from the very beginning started with a very unlikely character, and somebody you never would have expected being the mastermind was a white man. So there it is there. Go ahead and digest that in. Go ahead and think whatever you want. But in this day and age, a lot of things are changing for the better, for the worse, staying the same. But, I mean, it is what it is, man. The whole gang world and the criminal world on this side of the border is not the same anymore that it used to be in the old days. People have to come to the realization of that. If you want to come and digest anything, digest that. The whole thing is changing. The whole world is changing. You got terrorists that are communicating on social media. You got fucking mobsters that got reality shows. This is where we're at, man. We're in the celebrity age where everybody wants to be a celebrity. And that's what it is. Will it ever change? Will it get worse? Will it be the downfall of a way of life? Who knows? But I can tell you this, mobsters in the 1920s are not the same as mobsters in the 2020s. And that's why I'm going to leave it right there. Prison Break Raw, uncut, uncensored, no holds barred, not sugarcoated, not politically correct, all up in your face, slapping you with that dick of reality, and I'm out.